Hello and welcome to another episode of Main-iac Science Lab. I am Mr. Andy, Youth Services Librarian for the St. Johns County Public Library System, right here in St. Augustine, Florida. And you can find me usually hanging around the main library, the one downtown. And today we're going to do an experiment with chromatography. What is chromatography? Well, in simple terms, chromatography is a separation process that uses two phases, one mobile and one stationary. Now for our experiment, we're going to use a mobile phase of tap water and we're going to use a stationary phase of simple white coffee filters. And we're going to use chromatography to separate the mixture of black ink. Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun and it's pretty cool and it's kind of an art project too, all at the same time. I'll explain in just a second. But first, for this experiment, if you want to try it at home, you're going to need a few things. You'll need some glasses of water, about half full, simple tap water, clear, because you want to see the colors. You're going to need a couple of plain white coffee filters. You'll need some clips that you can use to attach the coffee filters to your glass. And you're going to need a variety of markers to get the ink from. Now, you can do this with any color, but black seems to provide the most dramatic results. So I have chosen 4 different types of black markers because I want to see how these 4 different types change through the chromatography process. Now, like I said, chromatography is the separation of a mixture. We're going to pull this ink apart into some of its various elements, and in doing so, we should be able to see a variety of colors emerge, colors that were used to create this specific color, black. So let's go ahead and get started. It's pretty simple, pretty easy, and a lot of fun. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our first marker and a coffee filter, and I'm going to use a blank sheet of paper so I don't make a mess on my table. We don't want to make a mess. Moms appreciate it when you take efforts not to make a mess. So take your first coffee filter and take your first ink pen. This particular one is a Sharpie permanent marker. We're going to take it and we're going to draw a circle with the ink in the very center of the coffee filter. Then you're going to take that coffee filter and fold it up. Fold it in half, fold it in half again, and fold it in half one more time until you get a little triangle with a bit of ink on the end of it, just like this. I'm going to put just a little bit more ink on the outside here. And then what we do is you get your first glass right here. We're going to dip this into the water to where the tip, where the ink is just barely touching the water. And we're going to use our clip to attach it to the edge of the glass. So it will stay there while the chromatography process happens. So I'm going to slide it down until the tip is just touching the water. I'm going to stop going down at that point and clip it to the side of the glass and then let it sit there and we'll see what happens. Now I'm going to go to my next marker. Let's see, I think this time I'll do a regular black Crayola marker. We're going to take it. We're going to draw our circle in the middle of the filter. You don't want it to be too big. You want to see the spread. So start small. If you go overboard, you're just going to get a lot of mess. So we want to actually see the separation. Now, and I don't know about you, but I apparently have a hard time drawing a circle in the center of a circle without using measuring devices. So if you're like I am and yours got a little sideways, once you're done folding it up, go ahead and fill it in some more. It's okay. And now this one is ready to be added to the solution. Now, before I do that, I'm going to take a look at this first one and see what's happening. Not a whole lot going on. I don't know if you can see. Yep, Not a lot of spread happening. Water is traveling through the coffee filter, but the ink's not really going anywhere. Now, a scientific mind might hypothesize that that's because it's a permanent marker. And the manufacturer of this permanent marker has taken pains to make it difficult for the ink to dissipate. They don't want that to happen. They want it to be solid and permanent. So they probably added extra materials to prevent it from dissipating. So we're probably not going to see a whole lot of travel of the ink on this particular one. But will the Crayola one be any different? Let's find out. Here's my glass. I'm going to slide it in the edge of the glass just until the tip is touching the water. Whoa, okay, okay. Here, you can see this now. It's already spreading quite dramatically, much more dramatically than the permanent marker, which is hardly moved at all. This guy is spreading pretty good. In fact, it's already to the very top of the glass, and it's going to continue going. So let's let that sit and continue on. Let's go to our next marker. Got my center. I'm going to try to get it in the middle. Apparently I am challenged when it comes to measuring out the center of a circle. So if you have a hard time with it, don't feel bad. Mr. Andy did too. All right, so I got an approximate center. Yeah, I can already see with my folding that I missed. But that's okay. We will fill it in and fix it when we get to the end. All right, folded. Yeah, I barely made it on there. So we'll make some corrections, and that's okay. We'll add a little ink to the tip there. Get our next glass of water, and let's see what happens when the water goes into this one. Again, instantaneous travel. The ink is already moving up quite dramatically. See if I can lift it without shaking it too much. You can already see colors emerging too. Wow! All right, we'll let that keep doing its thing, and we'll check on it in just a minute. And then the last marker. Now the one we just did was a Mr. Sketch marker. This last one is called Crazy Art. Sure, why not? We're going to draw our little black dot in the middle. We're going to fold it. Apparently my aim is improving, which is awesome. Repetition, man, you can get better if you keep trying things over and over again. So I'm going to add a little extra on there just to make sure there's a good amount of ink on here. And add it to my fourth glass of water. Now I have a feeling this one might spread pretty well too. Let's see. Yes, instantaneous. That ink is traveling. All right, so now we have 4 different processes of chromatography happening here. We've taken our mobile phase, which is the water, introduced it to the stationary phase, which is the coffee filter, where the mixture has been added. And what's happening is the mobile phase, the fluid is traveling through the mixture, through the stationary phase, and dragging different elements of the mixture with it, separating them into different pieces, so you can take a look at all the different parts of this ink. And it's kind of cool. Some of these have done nothing. The Sharpie marker, there's almost no perceptible spread whatsoever. So apparently they've really done a good job making their ink permanent, which means it's not going to get smeared around when you introduce water to it. You're going to have to use something much stronger to get that off of the coffee filter, off your skin, off your shirt, off the tabletop. Yeah, keep the Sharpies away from Mom's nice tabletop. Now, the Crayola marker has had some pretty dramatic spread, and I can already see different colors happening here. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of black, but there's also a bit of blue coming through as well. Apparently blue was a color used in the creation of this Crayola marker. Mr. Sketch kind of went bonkers the second the water touched the coffee filter. This is a watercolor marker, so it has changed dramatically, and there's a whole rainbow of colors going on there. In a second, we're going to take this apart and take a closer look at it and just see, wow, the amount of color from the Mr. Sketch is pretty dramatic. Now, the Crazy Art is a washable black marker, so I kind of expected some good spread, and we got it. There's a variety of colors appearing there as well. Not quite as many as the Mr. Sketch or as vibrant as Mr. Sketch, but they're still pretty cool. So when you're ready to inspect your colors, what you can do is get a plate or some type of washable surface, and you can take your stationary portion of the chromatography and take it out of the water and spread it out and see what happens. So this is the Sharpie marker, very minimal effect whatsoever. So when you spread it out, the ink didn't really go anywhere. Pretty permanent. Not very fun. All right, so we'll set that one aside. Next is the Crayola marker. Now this one has spread out a good portion of the coffee filter, but look, you can see a lot of blue in there on the outer edges of the black. That's because blue is a very water-soluble ink. It's one of the more water-soluble colors. So the outer edge, you can see a lot of blue going on there with the black closer to the middle. And if you look really closely, you might be able to see some other colors in there as well. But right now, it looks like a black and blue snowflake. Now, Mr. Sketch was pretty dramatic. The colors here are pretty amazing. So let's spread this one out. Wow! Look at the color effect. You can see it before I even open it up. It's pretty dramatic. Here we go. So I am seeing on the Mr. Sketch one, I'm seeing orange and yellow, maybe even some pink in there. This isn't unfolding very easily. There we go. Look at that. There's orange and yellow, a little bit of pink, and then blue on the outside edge. A whole lot of color came out of that particular marker. That's pretty amazing. And now for the Crazy Art one, very similar, not as much yellow. Let's see what we get here. If I can get it apart. All right, well, let's just do halfway. You can see a lot of colors happening here. I'm seeing blues and yellows and greens, not as much yellow as the Mr. Sketch, but definitely quite a few colors coming through from that particular marker. So washable markers appear to separate almost too well, to the point where the colors almost disappeared. It's almost like we've washed it off of the coffee filter just by adding water. Well, if you wanted to clean up a marker mess, that's very ideal. But if you want your marker colors to stick around, maybe not so much. Mr. Sketch is a watercolor, quite a dramatic rainbow of colors happening here, filling the entire coffee filter. A lot of yellow, a lot of red, some pink, some blue, maybe even some greenish tinge in there. God, they have the whole rainbow going on. And then the plain black Crayola marker, it's just black with blue edges all the way around. And then, of course, the permanent marker didn't do anything at all. So 4 different black markers, 4 different black inks, very dramatic differences in the results from our chromatography. and still pretty cool stuff. So you can try this with black ink. You can try this with other colors of ink too and see what colors you can get to separate from your markers. Make sure you use a variety of different types of markers to give you more options. But yeah, have some fun with it. It's very simple. It just costs a couple coffee filters and a little bit of time and a glass of water. And see what kind of colors you can create using chromatography. So that has been another episode of Main-iac Science Lab. Today's topic, chromatography. I hope you learned something. I hope you had some fun with it. And I'm going to say goodbye, but then I'm going to do one more experiment with Mr. Sketch, just so you can see a good close-up of the colors spreading really rapidly. All right? So until next time, I'm Mr. Andy for the St. Johns County Public Library System saying goodbye, continue experimenting, learning, and having fun.